Good morning from the lake. I have one of the coolest stories. Wow. When I've told this story to people, they're just shocked. So it's time to share it with the world, because it's what's possible for us. And it's, there's a lot to say. I'll do my best to keep it short as possible. But basically, I reached my highest level that I've experienced yet. There's possibly higher levels, but I was praying to the sun, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in again. And I had this meditation and I removed things from my body and I shot up, lifted like into a suit of myself. And I became invincible and I would just go. My third eye was open and I could see dark density. And I said, light is here, you gotta go. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory so that you can understand the context and maybe it might help you along your journey into your highest self. So I'm here now, 44 years old. In my young days of being preteen, spirits came to me as like imaginary friends and I entertained them. I was an only child, didn't have a father. My mom was working. I remember being like dropped off at my grandparents and I just play video games. I was kind of like left alone a lot. And so, didn't have any siblings, didn't have any really friends because we traveled a lot. Didn't have any, I was like out of town. So I became befriended within. And at first it was like innocent. It was very much like, imaginary friends kind of thing. Like we think that's harmless, but as my years progressed, that relationship within my mind, into my teenage years progressed into, that just because it's in my mind, it's me and I should say it. And they were basically projecting into me to project out of my mouth and my heart. And I gave into it, and that started my journey into the darkness. I mean, I was pretty lit up as a kid. I had a lot of love. My mom would talk about it a lot. I remember it myself, just having like just this ball of energy of love, and I would touch everyone's hearts everywhere I went. We can see that in children. My daughter has that same presence, in her own way. But people always comment on her just randomly, like, wow. And it's the presence of light. It's what the darkness wants. They want our power. So I was preyed upon. I had no guidance. No one taught me any of this. So through my 20s, I went into the music scene, really just was surrounded by drug use. I embraced it all. But I resisted doing drugs as long as I could. I think I was like 18 or something before I touched anything. But I gave in. I was just surrounded by just too much of that energy. And I think part of me wanted to fit in. I was like, just kind of like nerdy, or I was just different. And I just wanted to be part of the group, So I just went into the underworld and experienced it fully. Explored it fully. Some really like embarrassing things I don't know if I need to share. If you're curious about all the details of it all, kind of shameful stuff, but I've forgiven myself. I was innocent, didn't know what I was doing. So through my 20s, and I got saved. I remember just, hey, if there is a God, I need help, because I was like so hungover. Demons came off of me. I put this story in my book. And I was like good for a week, but the thoughts and the stress that I was under working, it was like so intense to make money, and I was weak. I didn't have my willpower activated yet. And so I gave in, started drinking again, and then go back to porn. It was a rough time. My energy was leaking. It was like my energy couldn't rise into my fullest potential. It was just going up and out, up and out, up and out. and I couldn't be creative. I wanted to be a musician. So years went by, really just trying, never really getting traction in the creativity that I wanted. And then eventually I had even more spiritual awakenings. The dot came to me when in my third eye, when I was laying on the ground with the sun above me, went into the sun. I put that story in my book too, the rainbow portal of light, incredible loving energy. My family of light was there, and they tried to reprogram me, telling me, hey, you're doing these things that are harming yourself, you need to stop. And it was life-changing for me, and that really set me on the path, because as soon as I came back, I'm like, I'm back. No. It felt so good to be back. Like, it was just like this electric love that just like never quit, and it was just like, oh my God, it's so good. So, you know, but still the darkness was still on me, and I hadn't learned how to develop my willpower center. And so years and years. I mean, I'd have like highs and lows. Like, I feel like I would get higher into light, and then I would dip back down, and then it was kind of like a roller coaster. But I was down here, and so I was just like, and I wish I could have just gone up and like stayed, but it's my journey. So I feel like I've fully understood the underworld and the darkness that's going on this planet. So I have a lot of wisdom to share, so I'm grateful for it. But I wish I knew these things when I was younger. I could have been a lot more successful and further along my journey than I am now. But I still got a lot of time left. Not all is lost. So fast forward to my current relationship, and she's total goddess. I mean, she's so pure in her heart. She's amazing, and I'm so glad I made a baby with her. We made a child, a golden child, and she holds me to the highest potential, just basically on the vibration. You know, if there's anything impure within me or whatever, it's like she feels it, and my daughter does too. So there's a great song that I came across. You know, please prepare me, make me pure and holy, tried and true, make me a sanctuary. And beautiful chorus is the artists that introduced me to that song. I think it's a classic song, but I just remember playing that and praying for it. And you know, it's up to me to really rise above my patterns and to choose differently. It's up to me. No one's going to save me but myself. And that was the lesson that I got. Even though I could be blessed and helped, but it's really up to me and my choices and willpower. And I remember meditating, I don't know, about a year ago, and something came off of me, and I felt my energy down in the second chakra, basically the sexual creative, and I felt it move up into here, my willpower, and I felt it get really warm, and that was amazing. That was a huge shift for me. And you know, so I kind of reached a new level and explored that for a while, but still the darkness would come on me, but I was like aware of their game. But there was just some really stressful moments that had happened, and I gave in again. Little moments. To me, I thought it was innocent. It was just, for me, it's just basically being lonely in a way. Like, there was a lot of stress in my relationship, and you know, I just pleasure myself, and that was not okay because the darkness was too close. They would just kind of like get in, and they would want to encourage me to orgasm and take my energy. And that kind of like prevented me from rising, you know, and it was like still like keeping me stuck. And it wasn't something I did a lot. Usually maybe, I don't know, once every 3 months or something like that. But even that wasn't okay. And I didn't know. No one had ever told me that. And I thought it was just between me, but these spirits they just prey on us, and they just come too close. So that's a little bit of the backstory of like just my journey of my struggle, and didn't have a father, and no real guidance in our society, and like the Bible doesn't talk about this stuff. Church doesn't talk about this stuff. And there's an empowerment online, not that I really like gave into it, but I just noticed it's there, of like empowering sexuality, but I see that's you know, false light, because we got to talk about this. There's parasites at this level. So after this, this energetic shift, and then, my inner, if I tuned into my inner guidance, it was telling me, don't do it. But it was like, I just really loved that feeling of like pleasure, and my relationship was going through some stress. We had financial stress. We had a water leak and mold, and I had to rebuild the house, and money got really tight, and it was just like a really rough time. So it was like, for me, a way to relax and give me some kind of relief. But really, I found out through this all that like the true relief is actually like having, rising to the higher levels and having harmony in the family and being closer to God and the light and feeling embodied with that force that moves through me and us when we're pure and when we've totally, fully kicked out the darkness. But I didn't understand that there were like attachments to me. I thought I had removed all of them. I don't know when they came in or what. I don't know the full like story, but this is it. And it's just at 11:11. So I'm out looking at buying my friend's property. It's out in the country, out in Florida. So I'm on the outskirts and I'm meditating, having a great experience. That day I was out, like there was this like pond, water there, and the sun was out, and definitely just, getting impulse to pleasure myself out there. And, entertained it, but then I realized like, no, I should be doing this. And, I think there's something to be said about that. But what I realized is, to do it with a partner that's, you're committed to, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's what I really want or wanted, but couldn't have it at the time. So, and also there's like these airplanes flying by, and I just felt like all the sounds were like bigger than me, and I just was feeling weak, and so something wasn't right. So I remember just looking at the sun. I said, let me back in, because I remember being super strong. And so that night I meditated again, and I had this tent it's by Kelty, and it's you can see all the stars. It's like almost all screen. It was amazing. So the stars were out, and I got there's a cannabinoid from this, like in mango leaves and other things. I don't know too much about it, but a friend of mine said it was helping him with pain, and I was dealing with some pain in my body, still working, healing stuff from being a filmmaker and like on the computer too much and driving and all this stuff. So taking that, and then I synergized it with just a little bit of this pure Rick Simpson's oil, RSO, basically THC. But I knew just to do like microdose of that, just enough where it like relaxes the body and it helps me stretch. And I also was doing a lot of iodine over that like few months, and that was clearing my third eye. I had a third eye experience at the beach with my daughter, like, and that was incredible. I can tell that story too. I'm gonna pause here and then I'll tell the rest. All right, I'm back. So my friend's property, meditating in this tent at night, and I had been taking my iodine, cleared my third eye, had these third eye activations before with my daughter. I made a video about that. It was awesome. Saw people's auras, and the sun's energy went right into me. My daughter experienced it too. It's normal for her. It's like so cool how kids remember these things. And I remember too. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it was like. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's like you remember like what's possible. And we come in here and we're like in this 3D thing, and it's like, but when we remember the fullness, it's like exciting. So that's why I'm making this video, to hopefully inspire us to know that there's higher levels and we can reach it. But it takes intention, and it takes patience, and it takes sincere self-control and sincere prayer. And so this is it. This is the meat. This is the meat of the story. I had prayed earlier in the day. I said, let me back in. And that night, I was, I had taken this cannabinoid, a few drops of that, and then a few drops of the THC oil. Helps me get in my body, helps me kind of like, helps ground me, and so I was there. And I think it has something to do with opening the mind. So that's what I did, and not ashamed of it. I think you can use plant medicine in small doses in a ceremonial setting, and I think it's okay. As long as you're aware of the light and the dark and you have self-control. Don't want to do too much, and then they basically will just eat you and take you over, take your mind over. So when you're journeying into the other dimensions, you have to know what you're doing. I was aware there was a lot of fire ants on this property, and I was just like planning in my mind, like journaling before that, of like everything if I bought this property, everything I would do to it. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to take care of the fire ants and, buy this, buy that, build this, do that. And so the first thing that came to me, what I noticed is I started noticing in the shadows as the sun was setting and we were entering twilight and it was getting darker, I could start to see things in the shadows. It was very interesting. It had never happened to me before. Or maybe it happened years ago, but it hadn't happened in a long time. I have this thing where I have to tell the truth always. So I started to see the shadows, and one of the first things that showed up was this shape of the ant king. It was like this shape of like a giant ant. And I was like, whoa. And intuitively, it was like the presence of the collective of the ants, the energy that controls the ants, like its higher self in a way, or its energetic collective was showing itself to me and being like, hey, we're here. And it felt like I needed to respect him in a way, and like who are you to think you can just take us out, kind of thing. So that was interesting. That was the first thing that happened. And then there were more things showing up in the shadows, and I can't remember the order of events, but at a certain point what happened was I could see, like I could start to see more, and then I looked down and I saw this tapeworm. It was like this big, and it was right in my second chakra area. And I was like pulling it out, and it was so super gross, super gross. I was pulling this thing out. Oh my God. It just went. It was just like so big and long, and I could like feel it inside of me. It's like I'm getting grossed out thinking about it right now. Super gross. And so I removed that. It's like it just went, and eventually it stopped. And I had to basically own what I did. And what I did was I was allowing energy to be taken from me and from people that were close to me, and some that I didn't even know. Like, I had to talk to the higher selves of everyone that I had touched, and I could see, I was shown all the energetic scarring, and I could feel it. And it was like so horrible. I felt so bad, so guilty, so shamed. And I asked for forgiveness, and I was like humbled. I had these like real talks. It was just like, it was like I was getting back into this field, and I could feel it. And it was just like it was like I was reunifying with this higher force. And from that space, I had to be sincere. Like, yeah, I'm never going to do this again. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. And like and then I was being talked back, like, are you sure? Because there's been so many times in my life I've been like saved, and then I was weak and I gave in, and just stupid. I totally regret all that stuff. So after like asking for, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And I had to talk to all these different souls. After that, it was like I just shot up, and I could feel and see, and I remembered, I was like, wow, it was like a game almost. And it was like I went into a suit of myself. I could see it. I could see like me in this giant energy, and I went up into it, and like with my hands, I like went up and I like just went into my suit. And then I was like, wow, I remember this. Oh my God, you know, I remembered, like my soul remembered before this body, like this is what it was like. And with that feeling, I could see so much more. There was all these little details everywhere, like a painting, or like a drawing, like all these dots and just flowing of energy everywhere. So much detail. I think probably people on DMT see this stuff, which I've never done that. But it was amazing, totally amazing. And it was like, I was like, oh, I'm back, cool, yeah. My prayer, let me back in, was like fulfilled, because I knew at a soul level, I knew. And so with this new power, I could see more, and I could see more of these dense shapes, and I would just go right up to it, and I was like, the light is here, you have to go, and it would just disappear, and it was gone, poof. And I was clearing all the energy around me. And then I could also see shapes of my guides, like just watching, like very stoic, just like standing there, just like just watching. And that's how the Ant King looked too. They were just very much just like a presence, just like holding still, like a statue. And I will say I did have some help before this, because I was intentionally feeling like this pain in my shoulder. I was like, I think there's something in me. So I had two women that helped me. One was a massage therapist that was spiritual and could channel, and she was pure, and another woman who did do Reiki and craniosacral. And so before this session, both of them helped me like push things out, trying to get these things off and out of me. And I did it before that tapeworm I was just like breathing and pushing these things off of me. And I think there's two. I remember there's one here and maybe one here or something like that. It was some kind of density. I don't know what it was, but I just could feel it. And I remember just with all my willpower and everything, just my breath, just like trying to push it away, just pushing it away. So, you know, those two things came off, the tapeworm came out, and then I shot up, and I stayed in this state for, I don't know, a couple hours or something. It was amazing. The stars, I could see the constellations, I could see connections. There was a family member that we have that we know, her presence came. It was this cool, like glowing white light, like a ball with white light and colors in the center, and kind of flew through the sky and came down and talked with me and like met me at this new level, and it was amazing. And had a conversation. And then I eventually went to war. I went to war on all the darkness that I could see. I would go to it. Some of them wouldn't leave. And then I realized I could go into them. So I went, and then I went to the top, and I went down, and I could see a little hole, and I went inside. And I think we all have that. That's part of creation, is that there's an entry point in the top, probably the bottom too. But I just went to the tops of these, and I would go into them, and then I would basically be there, and I would breathe and relax, and breathe and relax, which I put in my books, and that helps me clear out any energy in my body. It's breathing and relaxing, clearing out any stress or any tension. So I would do that, have a lot of practice doing that, and eventually I would dissolve them. And I felt like it was like a chess game, and I did all the pawns. I did all the easy ones first, and then I started getting the harder ones. And as I got to the harder ones, it was like I had to talk with them with compassion, and I had to say, you know, I understand you're just trying to survive, but you're harming humanity, and it's not okay. You have to go. And eventually they would dissolve and leave. And so I eventually got to the end, and I was facing facing basically where Miami is. I was about 3 hours away from there. So it was really far away, but I could see it was this giant gray's face. Have you ever seen the common, like it's common now, like people just embrace the grays, but I don't think they're good. Like they have that, those big eyes and like that kind of angular face and the round head. That's like the gray face. So anyways, I saw a huge one. And I tried like talking with it, and it was just big and it was giant and it wouldn't budge. And I tried talking with it. I tried everything I could do. I eventually had to talk with it for a long time and be with it, and just eventually two kind of major things happened. One was I realized I couldn't do this all myself, and so I called in for reinforcements. I was like, there needs to be more people like me that can awaken and like take this out, because I could sense that it was so entrenched. I could feel like it was like had all these roots down in all these souls, and it was just embedded super deep into Miami. And so I instantly saw all these faces of people, and it was like a camera following them around. I could see like this little ball, and I could see everyone's face like walking around, super vivid. And I saw that like 1 second was someone else's face, and then it was someone else's face for a few seconds, and then another person's face and another person, and it did maybe about 10 of them, and it was super real. Happened super fast. And then I just felt intuitively like, okay, I'm going to imagine bringing light down to these souls, and to tell them it's time to awaken. Please come back to God, come back to the light, serve, let's cast out this darkness, please awaken. And then after that, it was like that whole Gray's face turned into a demonic face, and it looked very demonic, like very angular, and like just kind of like what a demon would look like, but it was super detailed and giant, just giant in the sky. I was like, whoa. So then I kind of prayed to my immediate area of like looking around to different towns, and like they weren't as dense as Miami was. There wasn't this huge force. And I just prayed for souls to awaken all around me, and I knew this was going to be a long game, and that's what we're doing here. I imagine this is going on in like New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, LA. I imagine it's the same scenario. There's just these giant beings everywhere. Just, Las Vegas, probably Reno. I'm pretty close to Reno right now. A lot of darkness there, I felt. There's a lot of drug use, and just a lot of nightlife, that whole thing. And I know it personally from being a musician. I know all about it. So, and then kind of after that, it was like, I think I had to pee or something. And there's a lot of mosquitoes there. And then I could sense the mosquitoes were like working for the darkness. And they were all like buzzing in the tent trying to get at me. And when I had to go pee, they like ran after me. And it's kind of swampy out there. So that's another issue, is the mosquitoes. And that kind of broke the trance a little bit, and I couldn't kind of like, the experience was ending. And that was amazing. And then shortly after that, I met a woman, just kind of had these divine appointments, met someone. It was amazing connection, amazing heart energy. Gave her my book. She gave my book to somebody else that wants to sell it in the area. We met, we had this powerful connection, planting the seeds for other people to buy the book, and then, and they did. And so it's like, when I go back to Florida, we're gonna, gather more, and, maybe it'll be a little risky to put this out in the open, but I'm not like attacking anyone personally. I think what this is, it's all inner work. It's basically all of our choice. We're not like fighting against a person or a thing. It's like, if we can all transform within ourselves to gain control of ourselves, to remove any kind of energetic attachments, any kind of leakage, then our energy naturally rises, and then we just radiate this force, and our presence will cast away darkness. And that's like the simple kind of path. And perhaps what I did was, maybe more advanced. I don't know how many people are able to experience this. But the point I'm trying to make is, the suffering that I see on this planet is due to energetic attachments, based on my own personal experience and what I've seen Like, I know this is completely real, and I feel like this is probably the most important thing to talk about right now, is to remove attachments from ourselves and to help other people remove attachments from themselves, so that we can not have parasites that are sucking us dry, or like, you know, weakening us, and energy's leaking out and we're just at this lower level. So that's my message. Hopefully it inspired you a little bit to activate into your highest self. Basically just tune into whatever you feel. Whatever you feel is real. Whatever you sense is real. And to be empowered to speak authentically, name things in relationship or in experience. Hey, I feel that. What is that? You know, like, we need to own ourselves and not like push past uncomfortable feelings, because I'm realizing if I feel something uncomfortable, it's usually there's something's not right. It's either maybe in a relationship, someone's maybe not understanding me or something like that. My words aren't landing, and so, you know, it can help with communication, but it also can be there's a presence there that's wanting to come into you, and if you like just hang out with that feeling, then an attachment might be made upon you, or, you know. So, you know, we have to protect ourselves, and you know, we can call on the light. We can call on the presence of God. If you're close to Christ, call on Christ. If you have a, you know, it's beautiful to call on help, but ultimately it's our own choice, and we have to be in control of ourselves. And I think that's kind of the lesson of being here on this planet. So we come here to experience ourselves, have this free will choice, learn about the light, learn about the dark here, and then when we're ready to return, we choose, and but we have to cleanse ourselves. And so that's the process I've been going through, this process of purification. And it's in all ways. You know, we have to be mindful of our thoughts, not to have anything of separation, so that we can be more like what made us, which is completely loving and allowing of things. So it's a balance between being in this pure space, but also having boundaries and protecting this pure space. So hopefully this helped you. And you know, my book, Activate: A Guide into Your Highest Self, is available online to buy. And I have a lot of other videos online, and I made one on clearing recently, out when I was in the Appalachia forest. That was a powerful one. And the secret is in the stillness. You can get really still. That's when you can pivot and find the center 0 point. So meditation trains us, being in nature helps, but ultimately it's our focus. With our focus within and our breath, we can cleanse from the inside out. And my book has practices within that. So you just train your mind's eye to go in and down and breathe, and you can breathe your presence that you are. We're one with what made us. We're the ocean in a drop. And it's time for us to cleanse this planet, the parasites, or at least cleanse them from us. They might never go away. They'll always be knocking on our door. But we reclaim our bodies and our minds and our choices, and last thing I'll leave you with is that you can program your higher self in your mind. You can say, if the thought is dark, please let me know. And so that's what I get when the darkness is trying to mess with me. Then I just hear that's dark. I hear that back. And just be mindful of your mind. Like, your mind is not all you. The mind is an antenna. So you don't have to listen to all of it. You can ignore some of it. But you can have a personal relationship with a pure part of yourself that always watches over you and is waiting for you and won't interfere with you until you're ready to return and listen. So the pure part of creation, the light, respects our free will, and the dark doesn't. The dark is selfish, and that's the problem. They're greedy and they lie, and they might act like they're going to help you, but then they don't. And so by being in the light, we keep our word, we keep our agreements, business is more solid. But we have to be in self-control, you know, we have to be in alignment, and everything works out. And it's not like we give away our joy or creativity. It's just more about being aware there's a higher intelligence that knows more than we do, and trusting it like it's a parent, you know, like, okay, yeah, I might want this right now, but I can't have it right now. That's okay, maybe get later. Okay, just like surrendering a little bit, realizing that having more ease and peace in life is worth maybe our impulsive desires or our human desires. And so when we're ready to end suffering, we return home. All right, God bless, much love, may the light be with you. And love is always there, always underneath all the stress. Just gotta let the stress go and breathe and relax, connect with the earth and the sun, and pray. Pray for the highest, purest light to be with you, and it will.